Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Seeking Excellence Podcast. I am your host, Nathan Crankfield, and I'm joined today by the one, the only, Father Jonathan Meyer. Father Meyer, how are you?
It is a joy to be with you, Nathan, and I have not been on this amazing podcast in quite some time, so it is a joy to be back and to be with all my brothers and sisters that are seeking excellence in their lives.
It has been a long time. And you've obviously gotten some upgrades. So I don't know if it was the last one we did together, but maybe 2 ago where we had some serious microphone struggles. You were like in the back of a church. But now you got a great setup. Your lighting's looking good. You know, you got the mic. People could hear you.
Yeah, I mean, last time I think there were actually just straight up insults on me about how horrible my microphone was. So I'm actually feeling the love right now. So thank you, brother.
I can't remember if it was I think it was our holy happy hour where somebody texted me afterwards. They were like, "Did you just call a priest a jackass or something like that?" It was so funny. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Well, that's great. So I'm glad we got to show the world that priests too can get roasted on whatever episode that was. But I'm glad that we don't have to do that today, because today we have some very exciting stuff to share. This is something that you've been doing for a few years now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, I just started actually this past January 1st.
Oh, this is the first one.
2021. This is the first one. I should we tell them what we're talking about first?
Yes, let's.
Okay. So this is called it's called the push-up challenge. And so you are right. I used to do a push-up challenge with my athletes. So I coached cross country and track at the public high school. And I used to do this during the entire track season. So the whole idea is just one more. So we would start on day 1 of track season, and you had to do 1 push-up, day 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, and consecutively. And our track season was somewhere around like 80 days or so. So by the end of it was the idea that you would be able to do like 80 push-ups consecutively. And if you like hung with this, then I would give you a free t-shirt. And right. So that was the original concept. And then this is taking it and just making it insane. So this challenge is doing 1 push-up on January 1st, 2 on January 2nd, 3 on January 3rd, 4 on January 4th, all the way to 365 on December 31st of this upcoming year. So like today, the day that we're recording actually is the feast of St. Andrew, November 30th. And today I will do 334 push-ups before the day is over. And so this is, it's the total number is 66,795 push-ups. So like in 1 year, like if you just had to ask yourself right now, like, could you do 66,795 push-ups in a year? And the answer to that question is like, it seems totally impossible, but I'm here to say that it is actually possible, and it'll like change your life. It's been crazy. It's been so crazy good.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, it's so good. And I mean, as we're going to do some podcasts that are very specific. This is one of them, talking about the new year and going into the new year with momentum, and just kind of setting some bold goals in that way. But yeah, it's so good to see it's very, one of the things I loved about Dynamic Catholic and Matthew Kelly is kind of that gradual increase and improvement, because I think that when it comes to seeking excellence, so often people get overwhelmed by thinking like, okay, I have to be like investing 15% and tithing 10% and praying for an hour a day and working out, for five times a week for an hour a day, like doing all these things. And it's a lot, it is overwhelming. But I always tell people, to start small, to figure out which are, to prioritize the ones that are bleeding the most and which ones are most important. So like, if you're not praying at all, right, like don't worry about getting to the gym yet. Like you need to develop a prayer life and a prayer routine and, to work your way down. But this is a great way to introduce yourself to some activity, to some fitness, that I assume has a lot of other benefits as well when it comes to excellence.
Yeah, no, it has been a life-changing experience for me. And I like challenges because they have a start and an end. And this clearly was a very long challenge, but what I have learned from it has not just allowed me to do push-ups, but it really has changed my mindset on so many different aspects of life.
Right.
And I'd like to talk about a few of those today with you, my bro. Is that all good?
I would love that. Before we dive into that, I just have a few like physical aspect questions that I want to know.
Oh yeah. So because it is crazy when you tell someone that you're going to do 66,795 push-ups, or that you're going to do 365 in one day and do that. Like people. So yeah, go ahead, ask some questions, and then we'll talk about some of the benefits or the graces that I've received from doing this. Go ahead.
We'll go surface and then we'll gradually go deeper. But first, I just want to know, like, when was I know you're an active man, so like, when was the first day like you experienced soreness? Like, was there like a first time where you were like,
yeah,
oh crap, I'm sore today?
It's when we got to about 70. That was when I started actually like feeling the struggle. Was when we got to 70.
Around
and
March.
Yep. And I also got sick. Like I was also, I had like a flu type thing. And I remember just being like, this is crazy. And that's when I actually made the first decision to cut it into 2 sets, instead of just cranking through all of them at the exact same time.
Wow. So that was going to be my next question. So people are able to break it up. It doesn't have to be just one shot.
Yeah.
I would assume that gets pretty tough, even if you're pretty good at the end of the year, do 364 and then 365 the next day.
That's actually kind of like one of my goals for this upcoming year, because I'm going to try to do this like 2 years. And I'm going to try to do this like and learn some more things from it. But I think it's one of the great things that we can learn about life, that like, successful people learn how to break things into digestible parts. So how do we look at a big, huge project and just break it down into parts that are actually manageable? And so even like, today I wook up and I have 334 push-ups to do. So how do I break that into parts? Like right now I'm doing sets of 110. So I'm just going to do 3 sets of 110. But I wouldn't have been able to do that earlier in my life, earlier this year, but I can now. But nonetheless, like,
that's substantial. So set of 110 is no joke.
So the ability to break things down in our life, and we need to be able to do that with everything. Any project in your life, anything. You want to write a book, you want to manage your finances, you want to build, like, it's all about doing things in steps and not being overwhelmed by the big project.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what was, I guess, you just kind of referenced it a little bit, but how do you feel like it's really like transformed like strength and all of that? Like, are you like at your strongest or amongst your strongest? Like, do you feel like there's been a pretty like big like physical transformation as well?
Yeah. So this is where it gets a little bit awkward, because I'm a priest and no one ever wants to like think about a priest and his biceps or his pecs. But I can tell you that the gains have been unreal. Like,
really?
Like you were talking earlier before we started the video, you're like, I'm going to do this in 2022. And I would encourage anybody that does this. So if you watch, like, if you go to YouTube and like look up push-up challenges, there were lots of push-up challenges during the quarantine. A lot of people were doing lots of crazy fitness push-up and other type of challenges. And in all of those push-up challenges, like the people are like measuring themselves, they're weighing themselves in, they're measuring. And I would actually encourage anybody that does this challenge to do that, because the gains are actually pretty crazy. Really? And I did not do that. And I took no pictures because that would be really awkward. Like, who would I share that picture with? Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Father
Chase. Here's
Father Chase to celebrate your gains with you.
Here's my side profile.
That's what good brothers do.
That's right.
Good
here's my side profile. Gains. Yeah. Here's my side profile with really good lighting. And so I think that I would encourage people to do it, because I think people will be blown away. And once again, it's gains in a way that we don't normally think, because part of the aspect of this is that it really is the just one more mentality.
Right.
So yeah. Other questions on that overall intro area?
That was my last one. So let's talk about the just one more mentality.
Okay. So the just one more mentality is literally just the fact that, like, when we think about doing change in our life, if it is small, incremental, but the key is consistent. So, I mean, like you talked earlier about prayer. Like, if you want to pray for an hour, like, that seems insane for someone. But if you just say, you know what, I just want you to pray literally for 30 seconds. And then the next day, I want you to pray for another 30 seconds, but no more than that. And then on day 3, for 1:30. And then people would actually grow consistently in their prayer, and they would see like dramatic change over the long run. And I think so often in our life, I see this with running all the time. So as I said, I coach cross-country track. Like, people show up on day one of cross country practice or track practice. They're not in shape, and they just start trying to do what other people have been doing that have been in this for the long haul, and they get injured, they get shin splints, and they're just crushed.
Right.
So it's just so it's a simple and actually really safe principle. Very small, consistent change leads to long time gains.
Yeah. I think
Very small, consistent change leads to long-term gains. And so it really is about the consistency. So it is an every day, I'm just doing one more push-up, just one more. And if you think about it, that sense, that it's also psychologically possible. Like if I did 10 yesterday, why could I not do 11 today? Like what in my mind would make me think that I couldn't do 11 if I did 10 yesterday? Like nothing.
Yeah.
So it really is correct. I mean, there's no way that I could ever have cranked out 100 push-ups prior to this challenge. And now I can do 3 sets of 110 without even thinking about it.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's wild. It's really cool. I think one of the things, especially as we go into the new year, when people are making New Year's resolutions or you're trying to change your life at any point, is you need a lot of humility. You know, I talk about this every time we're talking about setting goals in any area of life, is that you have to like really humbly take a look at yourself and say, where am I at right now? And where am I trying to go, and draw a point or create a route from where you are to where you want to be. But I think what a lot of people don't do, what you just referenced, you know, with some of the athletes who come along and they want to be D1 out of the gate, right? You know, their sophomore year, they haven't worked out in 3 years, and now they want to try to keep up with the fastest runners. It's the same thing people do in the gym. And you mentioned that is both physical and psychological, where you really struggle and can fail because of that mentality, right? Because of that pride that you have to come and say, well, I'm not going to just do one today. I'm not going to just do the 30 seconds. Like I'm going to crush it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just going to do as many as I can. And then you're sore on day 2, and then you stop, you know, like you push through the soreness on day 2, and then you do it again. And then day 3, you're like torn up. And by day 5, you're done.
Yep.
You know, instead of just like sticking to the plan and being where you are now to be able to do 3 sets of 110, people just say, you know, they have so much pride, and we have so much pride to say, I'm just going to go and do everything at once. You know, I talk about this in my approach to fitness all the time, where I'm like, I know that I like bro lifting the most, right? So when I'm trying to get back into shape, I go and I lift first. And then I gradually start introducing cardio and to start like restrict my diet a little bit more. But I'm like, the first thing, I just want to do what it like is most natural, and that's going to get me to go and get me to start like on this journey of improvement, instead of trying to do everything at once. And what the problem is, and the difficulty is, you don't see the changes right away as you hope to. You know, this kind of like microwave mentality that we often have, where it's like, I just want to, you know, feel better overnight. I want to feel the gains. I want to feel stronger overnight. But it takes a lot of patience and discipline and humility to say, I'm going to wait till day 70 to actually feel like this is working. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's very, very true. And everybody's different as well, right? So, I mean, for me, it was around day 70, but for someone, it may be on day 10. If they're doing 0 pushups, you know, at that point, but yeah. So it's everybody's different. Everybody's different. But yeah, I just think it's a phenomenal concept that we could like apply to every aspect of our life. Whatever I want to accomplish that seems unaccomplishable is a lie. That's a lie. Anything is accomplishable,
right? With
consistent short-term sacrifices. Like it's possible. So
absolutely.
Second thing is just like consistency. So I started off, I challenged all my high school altar boys, which I have like 60, and they all dropped off. The only people that are still in the challenge from January 1st is another priest friend of mine, Father Jacob Willig. My
priest friend
deacon,
of ours. A priest friend of ours.
That's right. Your spiritual daddy.
That's my dude.
And then a permanent deacon who's 70 some years old. And then a good friend of mine and soccer coach, Nick Lawrence. So like, it's amazing how important the consistency aspect is, because what happens is this. So the small incremental change. So on day, like when you get to like day 60 or day 70 and you skip one day and then you skip 2 days, like psychologically for me then to say, I need to now do 72 push-ups. And the last time I did this was I did 69 or whatever. Like that is overwhelmingly. And what we found is that like guys who skipped more than one day would not be able to like come back. And so once they got
Wow.
past day 2, they just dropped.
They're just done.
They're done. And so I think it's just like, so the consistency part is actually more important than almost anything. And like, it goes back to that small, and I will say this, like there were days where I missed, and I will tell you that like struggling, it really did amaze me physically, like what it meant when I would lose one day. Like I would struggle more to crank out the last 2 or 3 than I ever had before, because
Really?
my body was actually not, it was like, whoa, this isn't 1 more. This is 3 more.
Right.
You're cranking 3 more on my, like, this doesn't work. It's too much.
Right.
But 1 more was possible, but 3 more was not possible. Isn't that interesting? Like how our body works?
It
Like
is crazy.
you can, it's like you can sneak 1 in, but sneaking in 3 or 4, like that's terrible. I had to take off for COVID. I didn't say I had to. I took off for COVID. So I had COVID. I got immunity.
You're a survivor.
I'm a survivor. And so I took off for those 10 days. When I had to come back, it was really, really tough.
I bet.
But I mean, not to like, I was, but anyways, at that point we were just around 250, and, but it was tough coming back in, after 10 days, but thanks be to God, I did it, because I'm still in the game, and trying to crush it. I just got, 30 some days to go. So
that's right. And then you're doing it again. So I guess you have 390 some days to go.
But January 1st is going to be a piece of cake.
True.
Yeah.
I wonder if you'll regress. Like, I wonder if you'll see some like loss of gains there for the first
I would
few
think
months.
so.
Yeah. But you're happy to take that little break.
I'm willing to sacrifice that for the sake of others.
Amen. That's amazing. Yeah, no, I think it is so important, the commitment to consistency, because it is just so easy to just fall behind. It's kind of like the same mentality of the analogy I always use, like the cleaning your car, when it comes to like confession, right? Like if you kind of like have like your first mortal sin, you just go to confession. Like it's great to just like be like, I need to go immediately, because it's so easy to let negative, you know what I mean? Just the same way that it's just the compound effect, right? Like the way that positive things compound on one another, and you have that kind of momentum. You also can develop that momentum in a negative way, and things that we shouldn't be doing and things that we should be avoiding. And it's just so important for people to recognize that that's just like a reality, and it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you, bad or anything to recognize that and like accept that that's like a part of your life. It's just like one of the rules we kind of play by as humans. So I think more people need to embrace that. And I think there's a lot of people out there probably like me that I think that I really struggle with consistency. Part of that is traveling a lot. Part of that is just like big life changes, but part of it's just not one of my strengths. On Strength Fighters, we did Strength Fighters at Dynamic Catholic. I think consistency and discipline were like my bottom 2 of my bottom 4, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's not a natural strength of mine. And so things like this, are really, really important. I've been really impressed. Emily's done the Divine Intimacy. I don't know if are you familiar with that at all?
No, I'm not. No.
So I'm trying to remember who the author of it is. Here, let me look it up real quick. Divine Intimacy. And it's like a daily devotional, basically, written by Father, who is it? Father Gabriel of St. Mary Magdalene. Okay. And so it's this big, like, I mean, it looks like a Bible. It's huge. And it's super deep. I forget. I'm trying to remember the other book that he wrote, because there's another one that's really popular. But she's loved it, and she's like, I mean, she's crushed it. She's definitely fallen behind, like you're saying, and had that struggle of like, man, I have to catch up. But she's done it every time, and I'm like, I can't believe that she's been able to do it. I'm so impressed by her, by you, by people who are consistent with those things. I always tell people, half jokingly, that I'm like, man, I struggle with novenas. You know what I mean? Like, your boy's not. I don't know if I ever finished a novena in 9 days, let alone some of these longer things. So I did do the 33 days of morning glory, and I don't know how many days I missed and caught up on, but I did finish it on time in a 3-day span. So
I would say that's one of these things. But so, like, for you to say like, hey, consistency isn't one of my strengths. Okay, so like, if that's the case, what am I going to do to like try to train myself in consistency?
Right.
I think like this is one of those like opportunities. Like, this has the ability to train someone in consistency and to help them, which I think is just like a beautiful thing. Right. So yeah. Another
area of struggle for me is procrastination. So 2 challenges. I'm kind of doubled up here. I know procrastination is a big part of it as well. Just like with
Yeah.
anything, with
So
prayer or with novenas, all of that
correct.
stuff, like if you wait till the end of the day, it's probably ain't gonna happen.
Correct. And you just led into our third point of my reflections on this is crazy. It is a teaching tool for anti-procrastination. So 300 push-ups before you go to bed ain't going to happen. And if it does happen, it's going to be very painful. And so like, I just learned early on in this challenge that like, if I break them up throughout the day, if I kill them in the morning, it's a lot better than doing it all in the evening. And so I think that then spills into other aspects of our life. Like I just got to get it done now. If I think about it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to put it off. I'm not going to put it off. So like there's been times where like literally I'm in my office. I think about push-ups and I'm literally doing push-ups in my office. And like one of my parish staff members walks in and there's like, oh, there's crazy Father Meyer doing his push-ups. But like,
that's so good.
I just last night was re-listening to Mel Robbins. If you've ever heard her 5-second rule.
Oh yeah.
Which has been like a game changer for me in my life on not procrastinating, acting now and not waiting and staying on top of it. So at a certain point I was doing 5 sets of 60 and I would like set alarms to like remind myself like when to just like drop to the ground and crank out these push-ups. And that was a point where I was like, I don't want to endure a lot of pain. So I'd rather just do 5 sets of 60 than have to deal with doing them in larger sets, but I'm now cranking out them in larger sets, which is easier in a certain sense. But anyways, I think get it done. Like so much of our life is about just not acting. We choose to just remain comatose. And to fight slothfulness is right. It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's so important. And I think it's something that I've really learned as I've kind of settled into life here in Denver is just like regaining my mornings back and like not being a
so
bum.
Good.
Yeah, because it's so easy, working from home, it's so easy. You can wake up at 8:30 and have a meeting at 9 or 7:45, have a meeting at 8, whatever it is. But like getting myself, and I'm not even where I want to be yet, but just waking up at 6 a.m. pretty consistently.
Yep.
And being able to get some prayer and reading time done. And then like anything I need to do, if I need to podcast or if I want to go work out quick or if I want to do whatever between 7 and 8, and then being able to start work at 8, and like getting a great amount of work done by like 4 or 5 o'clock, and then still being able to go to the gym, then not being stressed about making dinner, still being able to spend good quality time with Emily, like it's amazing. But it's the exact same way. I mean, I think that's like a big anti-procrastination tool right there. It's just like waking up at a decent time so that you can get after it. So you can fit these things in your push-ups, your reading, your prayer.
The morning is the best time. The morning is the best time. I was just talking to a young man, a high school boy the other day. And I just said, like, you have like one thing that if you can learn one thing right now, you can learn to go to bed on time.
Yeah.
Make sure that you get consistent sleep and that you guard that. And then you get up and you crush it. Like a key to successful people is getting consistent amount of sleep, going to bed on time and waking up and crushing it. It Absolutely. Is so key. Not sleeping with your phone so you can sleep, and all those things are like little tools that are just so huge in life. And I know a lot of you probably listen to this on your phone. You might be listening to it while you're in bed. Turn it off. Listen to us tomorrow. And go to sleep. Like having like your body cannot function, and you can't be your best if you're not taking care of yourself. Yeah. Speaking of your body, I'd like to talk about the fourth thing that I learned about this from this challenge. Are you ready for this?
The lies.
Your body is a liar. Your body is a liar. So I'm like, we are told by our body, I'm tired. Not right now. I can't do this. I'll do it later. And like, it really is all a lie.
Right.
Like it is so crazy. I mean, the lies that run through our heads. I mean, even just like getting out of bed in the morning, like this is like not about push-ups, but getting out of bed in the morning. Like we don't like, oh, I'm tired. Oh, it's warm. It's soft. Like, no, like we can do so much more than we could ever imagine.
Absolutely.
But we just say, I can't, instead of saying I can. This is where like David Goggins, like just like blows my mind. And like all these great people out there that are like testing the human body, which is like
Right.
my fifth point is that the body is amazing. Like, you in the gym, we talk about like leg day and arm day. We only do that because we allow our body to lie to us.
Right.
Now the reality is that like I'm cranking out at this point 300 push-ups every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't rest. There is no like leg day, arm day. You do it and your body adapts. Like that's the thing that like our body is so amazing. It's actually been like Father Jacob Willie and I were talking about like literally how powerful the body is and how amazing the body is. It's like one more reason of just like the miracle of human life is clearly one of the reasons why like you should believe in God. Like the body is unbelievable. And it's
Absolutely.
not just like a strike of lightning on a pond that somehow then created a tadpole and somehow I'm a tadpole. Like, no, the body is amazing. It was intended by God and it was created for resistance. It was created for struggle. It was created for challenge. And the more that we challenge it, the more that we push it, the more that our body responds.
Right.
But many of us never, ever, ever push our bodies. We never push them to a limit that we think that is actually impossible. And this challenge has been one of those challenges where I'm just like, I can't believe my body is doing this. Like it's really adapting. It's powerful. It's powerful.
It is.
So the more we listen to the lies, the less that we will accomplish. And the reality is that our body is awesome. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's so cool. Yeah, it really is. It's one of the things that really draws me to it because like I learned this back in the day, going to ranger school and doing those types of things when you just feel like you're on absolute E and you realize how much more is in there.
Yes.
How much more you have in the reserves. It really is crazy. But I think that's something that really draws me to it, is wanting to like relearn that, because I think that it is. I mean, I had this experience, I think it was 2 years ago, around the same time, 2 years ago. I was like getting out of the army and I was like, you know what? I kind of took it pretty easy my last like 6 to 12 months in the military. And I was just like, man, like I'm getting soft, like physically soft, mentally soft. Like you just start to experience it and it's not fun. Like life's not fun when you're soft. It's not enjoyable at all. And it doesn't mean like, you have to be callous and rude and mean hearted and all this stuff, but there's just something to toughness and, perseverance and grit that just makes life so much easier. And even it's just like the little things, I shared this, on my like COVID reflection podcast when I was just low and struggling. It's just like, man, like I'm just so grateful to have that like inner grit that's been developed over the years to be able to deal with like the adversity that life throws your way, because I think that so many people we have so many people that we've been, coddled throughout our lives, like parents and family members try to avoid hardship for us. That then when we get hit inevitably by difficulty, we've never trained and disciplined ourselves. Nobody else has done it for us. We're poorly formed and we just crumble under this pressure that we face. And it's tragic. It's tragic to watch people at such a big level do that.
Successful people, and not just like financially, successful people spiritually, successful parents, successful grandparents, successful friends have the ability to endure suffering and endure trial. And it is
exactly,
our body is we are a body soul composite. We are not angels. We are also not beasts.
right?
And the more that we are integrated with our body and that our body is being challenged, the more that we will also like spiritually grow, intellectually grow. It is all interrelated. And yeah, I mean, I was a collegiate athlete and I've been coaching for 11 years. And this challenge is one of the craziest things I've ever done. But it's also like going back to like your body is amazing. I spoke to a friend of mine that actually we ran in high school together. We actually both competed at the state cross country meet in Wisconsin, went to Waukesha North High School, and he is now a personal trainer and runs a gym. And before I did this challenge, I contacted him. I was like, Dan, like, if I try this, like, am I going to hurt myself? Like, is this possible? Like, is this possible? And
right.
he messaged me back and he said 2 things. Number 1, he said, listen to your body. So make sure that if you get injured, rest. And the second thing that he said, make sure that you're doing proper form. He said, besides that, go for it. And I think like, yeah, like, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit, but like the good proper technique, but like listen to your body, like, but he was just like, go for it. Like you can do this. And it's been amazing to see that, yeah, no, it is possible. Like this can be done.
Right.
66,795 push-ups in a year. Like that's nuts. But yeah, but most people would say, I don't even want to challenge that. I don't want to try that. And I would say, well, why would you not want to do that? If your body can do that, right? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. I understand, but like, okay, so you're saying that your body can do that, but you're never going to try it.
Right.
Your car has 4-wheel drive, but you're never going to use the 4-wheel
Not
drive.
gonna try. Yeah.
You can go 65 miles on the highway, but you're going to choose to only go 35 because it's easier to do that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
The body is really one of the clearest ways, if not the clearest way, that I think we have. Like, it's so obvious to us that we have so much potential that we choose not to use. Like I think like spiritually is a little bit more hidden. Like I think intellectually it's kind of you can't like tangibly see and feel it, but like you walk around the world today and like guaranteed a majority of the people you see, not only are not like at their highest potential, right? Like not saying they're not LeBron James or like Usain Bolt, but they're not even like 25%
Nope.
of what their physical or health potential
one of
could
the common phrases that all of my athletes know is the 40-60 rule, which is that your body will start to tell you that you can't do anything else when you're only using 40% of your physical capacity, that there is another 60% that is untapped. And the more that we begin to understand that your body has 60% more capability that you just have not even tapped into, because your body will start lying to you. It's the whole, and this is actually Mel Robbins. This is part of the 5-second rule, but that we have a brain that was created by a loving God who wants to protect us. So we literally we have this desire for comfort and to protect ourselves. But that's because we used to live in a world that was dangerous. We used to live in a world where like you could fall off a cliff, or like a saber-toothed tiger would come and kill you, or like while you were hunting down your antelope to feed your family of 12 with, you might die, and then there would be no one to feed your family. Yeah. So there was this. We were created by a God who puts this desire to protect and to be safe within ourselves. But now when we live in a world where all of our food comes in plastic to our house, we never challenge ourselves.
Right.
And because we never challenge ourselves, we don't grow. Yeah. And if we're not doing it physically, we're most likely not doing it spiritually, intellectually, and everything else. And so it is all like, it's beautifully related. So I'll just throw that at you.
No, absolutely. I think to recognize that and to start to push yourself in that direction is really life-changing. To just see, you know what I mean? Like you are capable of so much more. And it's really, really sad. I mean, it's like life's greatest tragedy, right? To just like get to the end of your life and realize you were capable of doing so much more than you really were. But it's the same thing, that we have, whether it be spiritually or financially or things like that. It's just instead of figuring out, or saying like, I can't do this, figuring out how can I do this? And to say, if my goal is to do 100 push-ups or whatever it might be, to say, how can I break it down throughout the day so I can accomplish it? Because I can definitely do 20 times, at a minimum, to get it done, and set the alarms and do all these other things, right? To create an accountability partner and all these different things that can really help you along the way, instead of just saying, no, I can't do it. It's the same, we've been talking so much in these financial excellence podcasts have been coming out. One of my favorite things that I've learned from Robert Kiyosaki is, instead of saying I can't afford it, to say, how can I afford it? And I think you can take that same mentality to like mindset. Tithing. Right. Yep. Yeah. To say like, oh, okay, I can't tithe 10% right now, but how can I get to 10%? Right. And to gradually increase it to these different things. But to take that mind, it's a growth mindset to say, I am capable of doing this. But to realize that your body, it's the same thing for your capacity to do other things. Right. Like I talk with people all the time about this. I have all these other young podcasters who have to take breaks every 2 months, or they, can only put out 1 or 2 a month, and they're short episodes of these things. And I'm like, no, you just need to figure out like, how can you incorporate into your time? How can I continue to fill myself, with the grace of God to stay connected to the root, to remain rooted, but also to have content to put out and like take in enough content that I have things that I'm digesting and processing and growing that I can then go and share with the world, right? Like it's not like you don't like I just can't stand the people all the time who are like, I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. And it really, all of these things, this approach, this mindset just infiltrates and will rot every area of your life if you allow it to.
I'm just going to jump off here real quick. I love when people say they don't have time. I heard this great talk one time that whenever you say that, change the words to blank is not a priority.
Right.
So I don't have time to call my mom. My mom is not a priority. I don't have time to work out. Health is not a priority. I don't have time to eat healthy food. My diet is not a priority. I don't have time to pray. God is not a priority. I don't have time to read a good book. My intellectual life is not a priority. When you begin to actually say it that way, now, I don't have time to watch Netflix. Stupid television shows are not a priority. Amen.
Right. It is a good thing.
I don't have time to lay around in bed all day and do nothing. Being a sloth is not a priority. Good for you. That's fantastic.
Right.
Like those are things that should not be a priority in your life. But when we really look at like what the things that we make priorities, but when we begin to admit what's not a priority, my health, my body, my financial management. So those I think it's a phenomenal way to look at life. So
yeah, it's so big. I always try to correct friends and people who are close to me when they say things like that, right? Like, oh, we just didn't have time. I catch myself doing it. It'll be like, oh, I wanted to hang out with, we wanted to get together, but we just didn't have time. It's like, no, we just chose not to.
Correct.
Like I have to recognize and look and say, I had open evenings. I had open weekend times. Like I could have gotten breakfast. I could have done these things. And especially, I think it becomes especially true for me when I go home. I see it really easily, when I'm back in Pennsylvania, because I do have to make the choice. Am I going to just exhaust myself and like do breakfast, lunch, and dinner with people every single day that I'm home for 5 days, right? Or am I going to choose to rest? Am I going to choose to, at least go to daily mass and then go out to breakfast with people, or you know what I mean, to fit in the prayer time and exercise and all these things. And I started to realize,
priority. Yeah,
exactly. I get to choose, and it's okay. Like it's not bad, right? Like I think we feel so bad, and especially people pleasers, I think, really struggle with this. To say, like we were just too busy to like spend time with you, or I was just too busy. So I will even correct my family sometimes. If I call them, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry it's been so long since we talked or whatever. They're just like, oh, it's okay. I know you're really busy. And I'm like, I'm not that busy. Like I feel like I tell my family that all the time, to be like, I'm not that busy. Like I'm not too busy to talk with you once a week or once every other week or whatever it might be. Like and it's not that they're not a priority. It's just that I'm not prioritizing right. You know what I mean? Like my priorities are out of whack. Like I'm not managing my time.
My priorities are out of whack.
Yeah, which is why I apologize to people for that. Not as often as I should, but I think we ought to, right? Like we ought to take ownership for that and be like, yeah, like it's not your fault. It's not that I'm too busy, because it's such a thing. Like, oh, it's like my least favorite thing about society today is this like addiction to saying I'm too busy. And that's what most people are going to say for this, right? They won't want to take part in this. Is they don't want to experience the pain and the consistency and the discipline of it. So they say, oh, I'm just too busy. I don't want, I don't need another thing or whatever it might be. Like, it's so funny how we just use that. It's just like this Band-Aid for all excuses, right? Like it covers up whatever weakness or actual excuse you have, fears. You just be like, oh no, I'm too busy. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Until you just constantly, everybody's so busy all the time. And it's like, you're really not. You look at your screen time and your Netflix time.
Exactly. It's so true. It's so true.
You're not that
It's so
busy.
true.
It's crazy. Oh my goodness. But going with that, let's talk about the
my sixth lesson. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like anything you want to accomplish can be broken down into manageable parts. And so just like one thing that we all learned is that, I did have this thought that I was going to just like, I watched the guy who broke the world record for push-ups, and I was like, dude, I can do that. And so I did have, like, in my original mindset was the fact of like, okay, like I'm just going to keep just consecutively doing them. And then, as I said, in March, I got sick. I was up into the 70s and I was experiencing some soreness, and I decided to break it then into 2. And then ultimately from there, just kind of kept breaking things. The most that I ever broke it up was into 5 sets of 60 when I got to 300. Now I'm back into 3 sets, but nonetheless, it doesn't really matter. But it's just the fact of like in our lives, we can't be afraid to break things down. We have to break things down to manageable parts. Otherwise we give up.
Right.
So you have an option, break it down to manageable parts or give up. So which one do you want to do? So I think breaking things down into manageable parts is a lot better than just giving up. And so
Absolutely.
the more that we have the ability to just look at anything that looks overwhelming and to simplify it, we're going to find ourselves to be successful. And it's a great, great gift to do.
I think that segues into, if we can jump, I definitely want to hit 7, but into 8 of setting milestones and celebrating them.
Oh my gosh.
That people don't realize how important that is. And I think you hear people talk about this, or people, like guys like us going off about these things, discipline and breaking things down and like being hard on yourself. But like, I'm all about some celebrations. Emily knows this. Like, I'm like, I was telling people, I'm like, it's so dangerous for me to live so close to Chick-fil-A, because when I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I go to confession and mass at 6:30, and I go to confession. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm getting a Chick-fil-A sandwich on the way home. Not every time, but occasionally. Days where you're really tired, or you really like, you do have to have some rewards, and you have to enjoy life in the midst of all these things. You have to obviously be careful to not overdo it, but you still do have to celebrate.
It's one of the beautiful things about our Catholic faith is that we celebrate what we believe. Like, people take for granted the fact that we celebrate Christmas because we're Catholic. Like, all of the secular people who are out there celebrating Christmas are doing so because of the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church has a liturgical year and celebrates things annually. Like, you celebrate what you believe. And so breaking this goal down to, okay, day 100, on day 100, on day 200, on whatever, my 250, 300, I would send out like inspirational messages and to those who are still in the challenge at those points, and like be like, yo, today's a day to go out, get some ice cream, make it happen. Let's go out to dinner, because you have to celebrate, or it's like the carrot at the end of the stick. And in a certain sense, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I still in this? So that's why even like when I began the challenge originally, just as a challenge for my track team, which was like the most that it ever was like 80 days, was they all got a t-shirt. And I was like, if you guys quit on day 30, like you're not getting the t-shirt, and your name's on the back of the t-shirt. And so I'm taking your name off, and you aren't getting the t-shirt. So yeah, how do we celebrate anything that we believe in? How do you celebrate your marriage? How do you celebrate your faith? How do and tangible ways are so key. So, and then the number 7 was just getting people involved. Accountability is huge. I mean, as crazy as it is, like when I get down, when I don't want to do my push-ups and it's like 9 o'clock at night and I have a set of 100 to go, I'm like, I better do them, because Father Jacob will totally call me out. Or Deacon Bob who's 70 some years old, will think that I'm a pansy. And so it is important to have accountability. That's why I send emails to these guys as well, is just so that they know that someone else is out there. Someone else is engaged in the battle with you. You have someone to talk about it. So I brought all the brothers together maybe about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And we just like talked about, and that's where I came up with this top 10 list, was actually from speaking with them and just sharing our struggles, but also the lessons that we've learned by doing this. And it really was just a great opportunity just to be bros and to make it happen, but to clearly have at least one other person that you're accountable to and that's accountable to you is such a great grace. And all the more, clearly on December 31st, guess who I'm calling? Like on that day, like I will be calling all of these guys,
all the
and
homies.
and being like, yo, bros, like tomorrow, 1 push-up.
Right. That's a big change. Drop a 364 from the set. That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's so huge, and that's something that I want to do, and I'll talk about this maybe again at the end, but just encourage anybody who's listening to this that wants to take part in this to reach out to me, because I'd love to set up a group. I'm trying to kind of thinking and discerning about how I want to go about doing that, and what kind of accountability we can have, whether it's a group text message or something like that. But definitely want to have a squad doing this next year. I'll definitely be reaching out to a few people one-on-one directly who are going to be mad at me for challenging them to do this. Just like I feel like anybody who you challenge to do Exodus 90, they're just always like, oh my gosh, why would you ask me to do that?
And then at the end of it, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And that's what, for me, like that's what the motive. Right. If I stop right now, that is so dumb. Like I have, stopping right now, like when you're 300 and foolish. It'd be totally lame.
Yeah, it would.
When you're 334 days into this. And then just two more things. Well, number one is technique. I spoke about that earlier with my friend Dan. But it's just it's a life lesson. So right off the bat, like I was watching some YouTube videos on like what's proper push-up technique. And so if you did one really, really bad push-up, like it's no big deal, right? But if you do 66,795 bad push-ups, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yep.
But then begin to think about like all the little things in our life that we often don't think about. Like you add those up and you're going to hurt other people and you're going to hurt yourself. So this is true for the human body, but it's also true for like, how do I greet people? How do I treat other people? Like when I like multiply that by thousands, it really does matter. Like, what does it mean that like, if my prayer life is not good, but I multiply that by like thousands of days, like that's going to affect my relationship with God, like in a really, really huge way. So like, what is my technique for everything? What's my technique for prayer? What's my technique? I don't know how to say it, but like for everything in your life, you multiply that by thousands and it really does matter. I mean, like, I know this can sound like the crazy, crazy stuff, but like the amount of time that is wasted in so many people's lives with things that really don't matter. In a general sense, I'll just call that bad technique. But like when you multiply that by every day of your life, like the amount of time that's being wasted and that things that could be done that are not being done,
even just
but
worrying.
you're ultimately hurting your potential. You're hurting, and also then the impact that you can make other people's lives. I mean, people make fun of me all the time because I have all these like life hacks and all these things that I do to like figure out how to get things done quicker and faster and more efficiently and effectively. But like that then allows me those really good techniques on how I do things in my life actually then allow me to be more available and more accessible. And so technique matters in life. It really, really does. It does in the gym, but it does. Small things matter. Small things matter.
Yeah.
And then the last thing was just like, this has given me a whole different understanding of time. Like the fact that like you're counting the days, like in the beginning, it seems kind of weird, but the fact that you begin to look at things like, oh my gosh, like I'm on day 200 or I remember when we got to like halfway through the year and just being like, wow, the year is really half over, or there's only 100 days left in the year. And you're just like, wow, this is crazy. Or like, I mean, even today for me to be like, there are 31 days left in the year 2021. Like, what am I going to do about that?
Right.
Like I have 31 days left.
Yeah.
But it also, you begin to realize like, that's nothing. 31 days. Like when I go back, like 31 days, that would have been like January 31st.
Right.
I have 1 month. Like that's it. So like that was me like cranking up to 31 push-ups. One, 2, 3. Like when you begin to think about that, it makes life like so much more real. I think like time often just seems to like float out there, but this just began to make life like really, really real. And also like, gosh, I don't want to miss it. I don't know. It just made me look at life in such a radically different way, that time moves so fast.
Right.
And I got to be on top of it or it's just going to go away. So the counting actually was really a beautiful way to like look back at this year, and to realize like what can be accomplished, when you just go and get it. So
that is really cool.
Yeah. So those are my 10 things, bro, on the 66,795 day push-up challenge. So I just call it the push-up challenge for short, but, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I challenge anybody to do it. And, I found one other guy online that had done this challenge before. And, yeah, but it's not one that's like real popular, at least that I could find online, a lot of traction about it. So I think we should just blow it up and make it a big deal. I mean, I just think like this needs to happen like more in our world. People just challenge themselves to greatness and just being something more than they could ever, than they would ever enjoy. I just think it's fantastic. So yeah, That's what I got for you today, bro.
I love it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. Very excited. And as I said before, if you're interested in doing this, I'm going to be creating some type of a group, some type of accountability for this for next year. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous about taking it on, but I know that it is great how gradual it is, which definitely eases those nerves a whole heck of a lot. And
So
so
let me ask you a question, Nathan. Can you do one push-up?
I can.
Okay, then that's all that matters.
That's
If
it.
you can do one push-up, you can do one more.
That's right.
That's,
And
that's it. That's it.
Your favorite saying.
Just one more.
Oh, I was gonna say your favorite saying of mine that you don't actually repeat very often, but don't be a hoe. Do the push-up challenge.
Yeah, probably not. Actually, maybe that could be one of the incentives, is that they would get a "Don't Be a Hoe" T-shirt.
T-shirt. Seeking excellence.
If you make it to day 100,
wow,
you get
we
"Don't
could do
Be."
like some type of thing each milestone. That'd be incredible.
That's right. That's right. They would get a new piece of Seeking Excellence merch, branded with "Don't Be a Hoe." I mean, just saying, it might be awesome. I don't know what Father Chase would think of that, but
I'll consult with him as well.
You can just send him a complimentary one, whether he's doing it. Dude, that bro needs to get on this push-up challenge.
He does.
Like,
we need to recruit him.
We will have to get him on this push-up challenge.
I hope he's listening right now and knows that he's been personally called out.
If he doesn't do this push-up challenge, I don't know if we can keep him on the board. So
that's right. His spot's on the line. I like that.
As the president of the board, I think I can make that decision.
You can. So. You have executive power. Love it. Well, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for listening. It's been great. Like I said, reach out to me, email, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. If you want to take part in this, we'd love to have you join us. Thank you, Father Meyer, for joining me today.
You're welcome.
A pleasure.
Always a pleasure.